Ciao. All right, cool. Live. Where is the chat? Where is the chat? Why is the chat box not there? That is really weird. Okay, there we go. All right, let's go ahead and begin.
Cool.
Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR, Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 321. We hope you and yours are well, and with everything crazy going on, we want to continue to be... Try that again. Okay. Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR, Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 321. We hope you and yours are well, and with everything crazy going on, we want to continue to be a platform that promotes positivity, life, and hope, and a little Star Wars along the way. Today, we are doing an Imperial inspection on Orlam. But before we spend too much time on a character that has 3 seconds of screen time, let's see who we got here. Miss Carla Giacalone, welcome back.
Hi, everybody.
The trivia queen.
Made a comeback.
Right on. Mr. Todd Hoffman has the night off. So, Carla, why don't you go ahead and tease that news?
Okay. Let's see. First, I have... Oh, wait, where is it? Here we go. Okay. It is coming, we promise.
Okay.
Don't make promises you can't keep. Good life advice. And the future is always in motion.
All right. Also good advice.
Found this trash in the attic.
That could be anything. I'm scared to find out.
One man's trash is another man's treasure. Another good
That's true.
Another good life advice.
True. Maybe it's all of Peter Mayhew's precious knickknacks.
Oh.
You remember that story?
Yeah. I think they ended up giving it back.
Yeah, it got it found its way back into the foundation, I think.
Good.
Okay. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into goodness, what is with my meal mouth today? Okay, let's try again. All right, and with that, let's go ahead and jump into our main topic. Okay, yes, we are doing it. Orlam falls into the category of what we are now calling, we are going to spend about 30 minutes or so talking about a character that has about 15 seconds of screen time. That's our new show segment.
Will we make it to 30 minutes?
Hopefully. Let's find out. Hope you've got a lot of Cantina chat in your back pocket. He's only seen on film on the Executor, whatever, when Vader calls the bounty hunters to find and capture Solo / the Millennium Falcon. If you're keeping score at home, this is where we are at with the bounty hunters featured on the Executor. Episode 86, we talked about Boba Fett. Episode 88, IG-88, of course. Episode 306, we talked about Zuckuss. That is like a 220 episode gap before we made it back around to Zuckuss. And now we're at episode 321 with Orlam. We still have Dengar and Bosk to get to.
Ooh.
So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more episodes of... We're going to spend about 30 minutes or so talking about a character that has about 15 seconds of screen time. Okay, Carla, what's the deal with Orlam? Who is he?
Man.
Why is he? Is he a he?
Why is he?
Why? Why is Orlam?
So, for Lam or for LOM, apparently it's also pronounced as.
LOM. Huh.
Yeah. So although he does have his bug-like looking head, which kind of looks similar to Zuckuss, he's
Yeah.
actually a type of protocol droid. This was an LOM or LOM series protocol droid, and he was able to somehow override his programming and initially started off as a thief and then worked his way into becoming a bounty hunter.
Okay. Sounds like a D&D character.
Right? So you often see him paired with Zuckuss in a lot of the Star Wars canon and material that's out there. But yeah, most famously, he's known for the 30-second, screen time in Empire, when Vader's got them all lined up, and he's basically like, "Who's gonna find Solo? Who's gonna get the job done?" And I believe in the From a Certain Point of View book from Empire, there is a story or two about him and Forlom. But I'm blanking on what actually happens. So I think there is a little bit more backstory to what happens within that time frame. But yeah, Boba Fett beat him to it. And as far as the movies go, we don't know anything about him or see him ever again after that.
That's it.
Yeah. So he was again a type of protocol droid, and he was specifically programmed by this individual who told him about a planet where droids kind of rose up and rebelled against humans. He was assigned to work on a luxury liner, but because of some glitches and software corruption, he was able to override his programming and then, like I said, became a thief and then a bounty hunter. I'm trying to see if he met Zuckuss, but I don't know if that's talked about. But yeah, it seems like those two are a pair. And I don't know if that's because they both look similar with the, the bug
Maybe.
face and the bug eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of looks like he has the head of a fly.
Yeah, with a C-3PO body, basically.
I don't know why anybody in the world would like build that to be a protocol droid, but I don't know. Looks like a funny bug man.
Yeah. Apparently between the year 19 Battle Before Yavin and 5 years after the Battle of Yavin, he was among the 5 bounty hunters investigating a jailbreak on Calarasi 5. Is that canon? What is that? Maybe that's one of the stories.
Could be.
Yeah. But it looks like he's got a lot of these little backstories. Maybe some of them come from the comics too. It looks like there's a little bit of that there. There's the War of the Bounty Hunters. And that was on Nar Shaddaa. Yeah. So he's pretty much he's very mechanical. He's very calculating, logical, which kind of makes sense being that he is a protocol droid. And his head was designed to emulate an insectoid species. Oh, okay. So they built the protocol body, and the head was meant to emulate the insectoid species that he was designed to serve. So that's where the bug head comes
like
from.
A diplomat or something.
Maybe, yeah. We don't see any other of his kind except for in Like I remember when the Obi-Wan trailer dropped, there was a LOM protocol droid, and everybody was like, "It's Forlom, it's Forlom," and I think
Yeah.
I don't know, did they confirm that that wasn't him?
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on his Wikipedia page.
I have a feeling like if it was him, they would absolutely confirm it, and there would be like a Hasbro Black Series action figure.
Yeah, that's true. So,
You know?
so it was just another one of his kind, which was cool to see. You know, um, but yeah, he's again like not too much known. It just looks like there's he's got a bunch of stories about some of his hunts um, for different bounties and his ventures with his little bug friend Zuckus.
Mm-hmm.
The two bug boys. Instead of
Bug boys.
instead of the Blues Brothers, it's the Bug Brothers.
There you go. You got a tall one, you got a short one.
Yeah.
Jake and Elwood. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much all he is. He's like he's the perfect character that you need for a scene where we need a bunch of bounty hunters lined up just for Vader to yell orders to, so that there could be a search for Han Solo. I like the idea of the kind of droid rebellion thing, kind of like planting a seed in his brain. Be like, I'm gonna rewrite my programming and do it. That's like a common sci-fi trope of a kind of droid or artificial intelligence that like gains sentience. I kind of like that idea. I don't know to what extent they actually explore that, but if you think of classic like movie villains, movie monsters, like the Terminator in the first movie, where you have this just kind of unstoppable, unthinking, unfeeling killing machine. That's, I mean, it's a trope, but it's a pretty good one, and something that I would have expected to see more of. But it just seems like there's really not that much to explore with this character.
Yeah.
And that's fine because he's just there for a scene, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be all that deep. It's just funny that to me, you have another character who's basically there for the same purpose, and that's Boba Fett. And everybody latches onto him, and then he becomes this huge, expansive character when really he's not really all that different from the other bounty hunters in the original 3 movies, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the story was from a certain point of view, because I'm like almost positive that they threw him and Zuckus in the mix of those short stories. I'll have to reread it now. Because I know Bosk definitely got his own little story in that. So yeah, I'm almost positive that they're in there.
Well, what else do we got on him?
And then just as far as his the actor, the person who brought him to life, is a man by the name of Chris Parsons. So he portrayed Forlom or for LOM, I guess is the pronunciation.
Elohim,
K3PO and E3PO in The Empire Strikes Back. And apparently he was very close friends with the actor Kathy Munro, who played Zuckus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So K3PO is the kind of like white protocol droid on the Hoth base, and E3PO is like the shiny metallic one that like tells 3PO off in Cloud City.
Eat
Goodness gracious me.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I don't know why, for some reason, I always think of the silver protocol droid and the Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Bringing
remember.
little drinks on a tray.
Yeah, I don't remember what that one's name is. But anyway, yeah. But it's kind of cool to see that they, this design of C3PO, right? Because he's the OG protocol. And they just literally swapped out the head. It was like, yeah, this is a totally different thing. Here you go.
Yeah. It looks like they built his suit out of like leftover parts for C3PO's like original design. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's supposed to be kind of like rusty and worn down because I guess if, being a protocol droid, if you're in service to humans or whatever species it is, they would take care of you and give you a nice oil bath and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a rusted over hoopty.
He's like, nah, I'm good.
Not like the Jaguar in your garage you take care of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also makes sense. Just like everything was kind of rusted down and lived in for the look of Star Wars. Famously, in 1982, Kenner released action figures of both 4-LOM and Zuckuss, but they switched the names. Got those wrong. So that was a little goof by Kenner.
And I'm trying to think of if there's anything in the between canon and legend that's different, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
Maybe there's a few stories that are a little bit different, but I guess there's something about they tried to Oh no, okay, this is about he served on a passenger liner named the Kuari Princess. And he was a translator, a valet.
Okay, so he had like a whole resume.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he was like, yo, I'm out.
I mean, understandable.
I'm not about this life.
Well, it seems like if Disney Plus is ever hankering to make some miniseries, some one-offs, explore some characters like these, because like unless you're a Star Wars comics nerd, there doesn't really seem to be a whole lot of stories with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't utilized them or thrown them into any, I mean, even the video games,
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor.
Well, I think in like Super Star Wars Strikes Back, they just like threw every bit of the story into like a giant blender and just like blended it all together. Because you had like 4-LOM and Zuckuss and I think Dengar on like Cloud City, and you would have to like fight them there, even though that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They just didn't care back then. They were just like, make the game, do some more coke. But yeah, because you have a bunch of potential there with 4-LOM and Zuckuss as like a comedic duo of trying to like get bounties completed together, but they keep getting in each other's way.
Yeah.
You could do a classic Abbott and Costello kind of thing there.
I think they're in the Lego Star Wars game because they've
probably every single character you could think of is in Lego Star Wars at some point.
Yeah. Like I would be shocked if they weren't. But yeah, I mean, we could.
That's really about it.
We could pick apart his whole but it's basically just it's all these little stories about him, and again, like what he was doing before we saw him in Empire, and
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
surprised because normally the Star Wars thing to do is you have this character that shows up for like 3 frames in the background, and let's go to Wikipedia, and then he has like an entire biography written on there,
yeah,
and everybody picking apart every little detail of every little bit of his visual appearance and tying that to some kind of crazy backstory to contextualize this in this wild universe. And we get some of that with Forlom, but not a lot. I mean, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but is there even like a reference library entry for his costume within like the 501st?
I believe that there is, yes, because I've actually seen a Forlom and a Zuckuss in person,
Okay,
and it's
well, that's something.
pretty freaking cool. And I actually have a
Someone's
friend
gotta
who
do it.
is I have a friend who wants to build one. So I don't know
There
if
you
he's
go.
listening right now. He should be, but yeah. Yeah, you don't see it very often because Forlom, similar to like C3PO, you have to have a certain body shape to be able to fit
Yeah,
into that, because it's that slim, and like compact, non-movable armor. And
yeah. You got to be shaped like Anthony Daniels,
basically, yeah.
a thin, supple British man.
And now that I think about it, like the mask, so I don't know if it's a mask or a helmet, but how would you see out of that? That's got to be interesting.
Oh yeah, because the eyes are out to the side here,
Yeah.
not in the front like us.
Yeah.
So
I gotta find out.
good luck.
Yeah. Have fun with that. But yeah, I think
that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think wait, doesn't he get doesn't Boba Fett actually not get he doesn't get isn't there something about Boba Fett like killing Forlom, but he doesn't actually kill him?
Yeah, I think that's in the War of the Bounty Hunters. They're all like basically fighting over Han Solo before he gets turned over to Jabba. And I think Forlom and Zuckuss are basically just like trying to screw over Boba Fett. And Boba Fett like basically blows up Forlom, so like just his head is remaining. And he just like carries around his head, and the head's like talking and chit-chatting with him and stuff like that.
Gotcha. It's kind of like Zero in Mando when it's just like in the ship.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if that was a nod to that. I bet you it was.
Could have been.
Like a deep
Could have
cut.
been. Although when did War of the Bounty Hunters run?
That was a comic book, right? I believe it was
Yeah,
a comic
that
book.
run started in 2021. So season 2. Yeah, that could have been like concurrent.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, he looks cool. Wish we had more from him.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's more about Zuckuss than there is about him.
Yeah, strangely enough.
Yeah.
Well, that was Forlom, everybody. Probably our shortest Imperial inspection yet.
Right.
Strangely enough, not our shortest character. So, yeah, we got Dengar and Bosk. I have a good feeling both of them are going to have longer entries. Just because, like, of the whole group, Forlom has kind of the least distinctive visual appearance. He just kind of looks like a protocol droid with a different head. IG-88, you got like the weird round or long head. Zuckuss, you got short Bugman. Dengar, you've got creepy wrapped sniper dude. And Bosk, you have the reptile man. So I have a feeling both of those are going to have much longer episodes, but I'm afraid that's about it for Forlom. All right. That's fine for us because if you listened last week, we had a segment that we had to cut out of there and put into here. And Carla, that is the Twitter trash compactor.
It's been
all right. Take it away.
It's been a while since we've looked at the Twitter trash.
Mm-hmm.
Like a while. So
yeah.
So
had a dry spell, but
yeah, we've got a few piles of trash to take out here. So bear with us.
All right.
So I'm gonna roll back. Let's see. Let's roll back to May. So I'm kind of going backwards here.
Oh man, we're like this is like back of the fridge,
right? Is it moldy? So we're going back
Why is it moving?
The end of May. And I believe you and Todd were talking about the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. And we had asked to our Twitterverse, what is your favorite part of the Jabba Palace sequence in Return of the Jedi? And as always, we welcome all the comments. Our choices for that one were the new aliens and species that were present in the palace, the Rancor, Leia Huttslayer, or Luke's hero moment. We did have a few write-ins. Backyard TARDIS said definitely liked the aliens and droids, but really liked the Rancor most of all. Just so cool. Agreed. Captain Ambivalent said even his droids are evil.
Ooh, that's good.
And
is he talking about like the torture scene?
Yeah.
You will soon learn some respect.
Yeah. And the poor Gonk droid's getting his little tootsies burned.
Yeah. yeah. What a weird scene. I love it, but right? It's really weird. Ow, ow, ow. That's pretty good.
But that cracks me up because all the time, all you ever hear from Gonk droids is Gonk. Gonk.
Yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden they're able to scream, no, no, no.
I don't know if you've if this is like a Midwest thing or not, but bunnies will go their entire life without making a sound. But if you ever hear, like, every once in a while, us Midwesterners will hear like a coyote or like a bird come and like kill a rabbit, and it'll just make this horrific scream like you've never heard before, and it will never leave you.
Yeah.
Maybe Gonk droids is like the same thing.
Maybe.
Just little bunnies.
Or like if you've never heard a fox and then you hear a fox.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although when they're laughing, it's adorable. There's little videos you can see them like getting tickled and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, not when they're screaming at 3 a.m. You're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Is somebody getting stabbed
like a
outside?
Banshee.
Like
yeah.
Yeah, but those droids are pretty ruthless, even in Jabba's palace. And then Rural Farm Boy commented with a gif of Boba Fett swooning the lady dancers of Jabba's palace. So, but the winner of that Twitter poll was Luke's hero moment, which I'm assuming is when he's on the barge.
Mm-hmm.
And R2 shoots the lightsaber up into the air, and
so
yeah. Rancor was not too far behind, and then Leia Huttslayer right after that, and then the new aliens came in last place. Let's see. Another Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary. We also asked, which Anakin Force Ghost is your preferred? Ooh. So your two choices there were Sebastian Shaw or Hayden Christensen.
Ooh,
so what?
Just two choices.
Are you a fan of the original theater release or George Lucas's altered version? I don't know.
You know what? That
I don't mind either or. Like, it doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, I've softened on this a little bit. I still think it's dumb and he shouldn't have changed it, but I understand like why it was made. He wanted to show that Vader indeed had been redeemed, and it was like the good Anakin that he was kind of returned. Don't change your 30-year-old movie to do that.
Yeah.
That's fine for like supplementary material, I think.
Yeah.
It just brings me out of it. And I think it was bad timing too, because this was even before Revenge of the Sith, right? I want to say it was either right before or like right after Revenge of the Sith when the change was made.
Maybe.
And I know a lot of people were dunking on Anakin then, but
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It's always rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm trying to give a little bit of grain of salt here because I think when I don't think you were here for this when Todd and I were talking about the People versus George Lucas, that documentary.
Oh yeah.
They interviewed a bunch of different Star Wars fans, and it seems like the people who were responding most positively to the prequels was they were like young, or their first exposure to Star Wars was like when the prequels were around. So it seems like how you respond to different eras of Star Wars is basically like when you it depends on when you became exposed to Star Wars.
Right. Makes
so
sense.
I'm a bit of a weirdo in that by age category, like the prequels should have been my first exposure, but I like discovered the original trilogy first.
Yeah.
So that's probably my bias in the way, but I was a little surprised that the Twitter poll was almost evenly split on both. I could certainly see why.
Yeah, I mean Sebastian Shaw took the cake, but yeah, Hayden wasn't too far behind. Very recent. I wonder if it would have been different if this was before everything with him came out. Like everything with like the Kenobi show and all that, because there's been kind of this revival of him and him playing Vader and Anakin. So I wonder if we had pulled this like a few years ago, would it have been a little bit different?
Yeah, I really don't know, because you're right. The prequels have had a chance to cool off, and now like a lot of people, I want to say even people who like started Star Wars with the sequel trilogy, have come around to the prequels and like given them a lot more love than they had for a long time.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. Like I get the whole like, I wanted everybody to see that he went back to the light side. But then it doesn't make sense, because wasn't he redeemed in that moment? So why would he change?
I don't know. Again, it makes sense in George's brain.
Yeah.
And from like a bird's eye view, I can kind of get it. But at the same time, like, what, George? Come on.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, he's changed enough already with the original trilogy that's kind of like low on my list as far as offensive changes.
Yeah. All right. Well, switching gears here. we're now talking about another anniversary, the 30th anniversary, to be exact, of Jurassic Park. So, Aaron, you and I had a little nice chat about good old Jurassic Park. And our first poll here in relation to that is, what is your favorite scene in Jurassic Park? And we had the reveal of the Brachiosaurus, the Velociraptor in the kitchen, Dennis and the Dilophosaurus. Did I say that right? I think so. And the Tyrannosaurus.
I think it's Dilophosaurus.
Dilophosaurus. Thank you. Or the Tyrannosaurus Rex escape.
I think the T-Rex escape kind of wins by default.
Yeah.
Just because how iconic it is. But I want to give some love to the Dennis and the Dilophosaurus scene. Just because it's like, I don't know, it's really humanizing. It's a way that like any just random guy would respond. But in a different way. Like if you actually saw like a Dilophosaurus just like threatening you like in the car, like I think you would kind of panic, but he just tries to like shoot away like it's a dog.
Yeah.
Just because he's been in such close proximity to the whole project for so long. But there's a lot to that character that I like, and he gets a kind of special moment here that I think is a little underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like that scene like stands out to me more than a lot of the others. I think it because it actually scared me when it spits at him in his face and everything. And I don't know, like as a kid, like when I first saw it as a kid, I was like totally freaked out by that.
Yeah, it is like really brutal in a way.
Yeah.
Just because like it like goes for his face and you can like kind of see what's happening in the car, but not really. Your brain fills in all the details, all the gory details.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't like about that scene is like when he like slips. He there's a part where he's like trying to go after the or he gets out of his car and he slips, and then that's when like the shaving cream can like goes flying, and there's a literal like cartoon banana peel slip sound, like, and I don't know why that's there. It does not belong. That's my one gripe about that scene.
Yeah. Well, Twitter did not like that scene at all, apparently.
Oh.
And the Tyrannosaurus Rex escape. Yeah. Took the gold, and then the Brachiosaurus and the Velociraptor were neck and neck. So, and then our other poll related to Jurassic Park. There is only 6 dinosaurs featured in Jurassic Park. Who is your favorite? So we picked 4 out of 6. Is the Brachiosaurus, the Velociraptor, the Dilophosaurus, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex. So the 4 from the scenes that we stated before. What's your favorite dinosaur, Aaron?
Well, Carla, I'm gonna have to go with Velociraptor. They have a really neat design. Even like aside from the context of the movie, they just look dope. And the way that they behave in the movie is really cool because they try to give like different behaviors to different dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like every dinosaur feels like big scary dinosaur. And the way that they kind of like are much more intelligent and kind of like hunt in a pack, I think is really interesting. Makes for an interesting movie monster. So
yeah,
I'm going with that.
Cool. I don't know. I would say the Brachiosaurus is like the big one, right? That's the first one that they see.
Yeah.
And And they play the theme song.
I think it's also the one that comes up to them like in the trees at night.
Oh yeah, because it has like the big long neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's probably my favorite of these four because they're just so like
Okay.
I don't know. They're just kind of like I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump on this tree for a little bit.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
kind of
pretty
cute. But it looks like the T-Rex wins again. Everybody likes T-Rex. Velociraptor coming in after that, and then that Dilophosaurus. And nobody liked the Brachiosaurus.
Not a one.
Is it because they're not tearing things apart?
It's not badass.
And eating people?
Probably.
Gotta give the omnivores, or no, the herbivores some love too, man. Come on.
For real.
Yeah, so we had that, and then we have one more. One last final poll, also about Jurassic Park. How did you originally view Jurassic Park? Was it in the theater? Was it on VHS? Was it on DVD? Or Jurassic what?
Should have put Betamax there.
Yeah, right. For me, it was VHS. I did not see it in the movie theater because I believe I was still a little too young. I think we talked about this. I was still too young.
Yeah.
And it probably would have scared the crap out of me. It still did, even watching it on VHS.
Yeah, I think I mentioned I saw it on VHS at my grandma's house. We had to cover our eyes when the lawyer got eaten.
Yeah. But a lot of people saw it in the theater.
That's surprising. That's a rough indirect demographic poll of our listeners.
Yeah. VHS was behind that, and then nobody's seen it on DVD, and nobody didn't know what Jurassic Parks is, so that's good.
Yeah.
And I think that's all the Twitter trash to take out.
Oh dang!
Did some spring
That was a
cleaning
lot.
there.
Clean out the fridge.
Is done.
Get some Arm & Hammer in there. Get that smell out. Good. I think we're all caught up then.
For breeze a little bit,
Yeah, exactly. All right. That's the Twitter trash compactor. Let's go on ahead to news of the week. Okay. We've got some news updates for you, fresh from our news desk.
Yeah.
Carla, what's first up?
Oh man. Okay. So this first news item is insidergaming.com. Remember that Star Wars Eclipse game that they teased a while back, and then there was a little bit of drama behind that one with the developers and whatnot. So apparently there is a targeted release date of 2026. So the developer is Quantic Dream, and they're looking at a tentative 2026 release date, but it could be delayed further. This comes from the same sources that revealed Chinese tech giant NetEase would be acquiring Quantic Dream 6 months before it was officially announced. So I guess it's a reputable source. They're getting their info.
Okay.
But yeah, there was all of the drama about allegations of sexual harassment, workplace issues, a toxic work environment. It's still ongoing, but because of that, this has caused major delays for the development company, and it looks like Star Wars and other games have been pushed off much later than originally anticipated. But this game is supposed to be a action adventure, multiple character, branching narrative game set in the High Republic era of the iconic Star Wars galaxy. Interesting. So we're going back.
Yeah, I guess like what's supposed to happen when you're making a game, right, is that, or at least like a AAA game, is you go through pre-production where you figure out like how big is this project, how many people do we need for it. You get like the broad strokes of it down, and then you basically just hire as many people as you need, and you work on it for a little bit. And when you have something to show, that's when you make like your game announcement or your teaser trailer, whatever. And what Quantic Dream did was basically they were like, we're going to make a Star Wars game because we got our pitch approved by Lucasfilm, and we're going to go through some pre-production to figure out the details. But they made this kind of CG trailer, and then, which I think they farmed out to like a different like animation studio to basically make the trailer for, based on their concept. And they use that trailer to drum up interest, not for the game coming out soon, not for a product like being developed, but to generate interest in making the game as like a hiring move, which is pretty unusual. It's happened before, but it's pretty unusual. And it's kind of hilarious because as cool as it was and as much buzz as it generated, they still weren't able to hire enough people because it's a terrible place to work and nobody wants to work for them. At one point, it was put on indefinite hold because they couldn't hire enough people to actually make the game. And now they're saying, like, trust us, guys, it's coming out 2 years or 3 years from now. But it could be delayed further. So best case scenario is that they're making like slower progress than they would like, but still making progress. Worst case scenario is like they still can't find anybody who wants to work with them, and they're not addressing it. And this is basically just them buying time, hopefully to like try to get some investors on board.
Yeah.
I don't know. Could be either one. I'm leaning towards the latter one. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, maybe just because of all of the, hoopla and drama, they want to give some buffer cushioning room in case they can't get it done, and then it's like, well, we had a really far release date anyway, so sorry.
Yeah.
But we'll see. 2026 is a ways away. A lot of time for things to happen and change, so who knows.
As I've said before, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Once we have like gameplay footage or a game to actually play, then I'll believe it's actually happening.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, speaking of future things, this is gizmodo.com, and this is an interview with James Mangold on his future Star Wars film, who, if you don't know who that is, he is the director of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which just dropped today, everybody, if you haven't ran to the theater to see it. And I just realized that this is a video, not like an article.
And it won't even play for me.
Let's see. Okay, so it looks like he's gonna be the director for the film The Birth of the Jedi.
Okay, so like the old Republic one?
like way at the beginning of everything film.
Okay.
So, yeah. Um, I'm just, I guess it's just
You're like
quick little interview.
absorbing this live.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's not a long, it's just like a short little minute and a half clip. So I'm sure if you Google Gizmodo, you could find that little interview with him. But as far as those films go, we started to get a trickle of news. Like they set a release date for the Ray movie, and apparently they have a date for when they're going to start filming. Yeah, and a release date too, I think, like a general time. So yeah. And then we haven't heard much about the Dave Filoni movie, but I guarantee once Ahsoka wraps up, we'll have more to do with that.
Yeah, they're keeping their lips tight about that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, because it's going to be the Avengers Endgame of Star Wars, probably. So
yeah. And then we've got the Rey movie.
Yes. So I think I'm interested about the birth of the Jedi thing, because A, like how far back is that going to go, and B, if it's the birth of the Jedi, that would mean there would be no Sith, no enemies, so to speak, because the Sith broke off from the Jedi.
Or did they? Yeah, I like James Mangold. He's a very good like character kind of director. He did Walk the Line, Ford v Ferrari, Logan.
Oh, okay.
So when he's given like really good solid characters to work with, I think he really shines as far as like giving them a lot of humanity. So I think whatever he does with Star Wars, I think will be at least interesting and a new angle and a new take on it.
Yeah.
I don't know how he directed Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That seems like such a Spielberg Lucas thing that I don't know why they would hand it off to another director, but
yeah.
And I have no opinion on Dial of Destiny because I've not seen it, but
yeah, I haven't seen it either. So
just based on what he's done, other than that, this seems like a pretty good solid choice. I just hope it's not like hope it's not like how Marvel makes movies. They'll see like a hotshot young visionary director and scoop them up to just have them do another Marvel movie. I hope it's not that constricting of a creative environment to be in. But yeah, we'll see.
All right. And last, but certainly not least, NPR.org gives us an article about the entertainment memorabilia live auction. And we have an original Princess Leia dress, which is expected to fetch $2 million at the auction. So it is her dress from the end of A New Hope when they are at the ceremony after the Battle of Yavin. And it was actually worn by Carrie in the film. But apparently, it did not sell. It failed to meet the seller's minimum sale price. Bidders stopped short of the minimum price its owners required to make a sale, which is $1 million, with a final bid amount of $975,000. Interesting. They are still actively accepting post offers on the dress, so it could be sold after a private treaty sale or can be reoffered again at a future auction. Let's see.
Maybe your pals at the 501st can take up a collection.
Oof. Man. I mean, if I can't do the math, but I wonder like if however many people donated X amount of money. But like, do you know what kind of a bloodbath would be to figure out who would keep it? Like who would keep that? Yeah, no. Bad idea.
Give it to Steve Sansweet. That guy maybe.
True.
Donate the money to charity. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know, like having something screen used, I would just be so worried about something happening to it.
Well, it gets weirder than that. It's funny that you mention it. The original movie had a budget of $11 million. So the costume team made just one single version of this costume. Typically with movies, you have at least two, if not like way more than that, just because like costumes get scuffed up and dirty and lost and all the rest. The dress was swiped from the set and stored in an attic. People thought that it had been destroyed with the rest of the original sets, but someone just found it in an attic in London somewhere.
Is that crazy? Like, no.
Yeah.
I'll just throw it in the attic. What are we gonna do with it? No one's gonna want it. It's just like, wow.
Wild. Yeah, it had to be restored. Took 8 months.
Yeah, especially that kind of fabric. It's so delicate.
Wow. Well, I guess we'll have to follow up on this and see who ultimately gets it.
Yeah. And apparently, like I'm just scrolling down here. I guess a couple of her other costumes have also gone up for auction. So like the Hut Slayer, like you would think people would go bonkers to have that, right?
Yeah.
It only sold for $96,000 in 2015.
What?
Yeah. So I guess it just kind of goes to show like the I don't know, like it shows how iconic her white dress is. Whether it's the senatorial or it's the ceremonial.
Yeah.
I mean, and not for nothing, but you know, there's not much to that bikini, so you shouldn't be paying that much money.
Save on materials.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how it works when it's on auction.
I have that costume. There ain't much to it, people.
By design.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. Some rich person's gonna nab it, I'm sure. At some point.
Yeah.
As long as they take care of it, I don't care who has it. Just take care of it.
Yeah, don't like turn it into a trash can like the Death Star. All right. I think that's it for news of the week.
Yes.
All right. That means it's time for Cantina Chat. All right, the part of the show where we talk about everything geeky and weird going on with our lives. Carla, what have you been up to?
Oh boy. So this past week, okay, let's see. Brian and I secured our tickets for New York Comic Con, so we are going this year. Solely to go see the crew of Critical Role because they will be there to do a panel, and I think they're doing autographs and photos. So we're gonna try and nab a group photo with all of them if they're doing one. And I'm probably gonna try to do like easy cosplay of one of the characters, one of Laura Bailey's characters.
Nice.
So I'm excited for that. That'll be fun. And we did a troop this past weekend for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And we raised, I think it was a little over $4,000. It was like a Star Wars trivia night and a silent auction. And it was held at Jersey Girl Brewery is the name of the place. So it was cool. Like people got to come in, grab some drinks, silent auction. They did the trivia. And then once we were suited down and finished trooping, we also got to enjoy some beers and relax for a bit. So it was a good time. And always good to rake in that much money for a charity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding. Did our trivia night kind of prep you for that trivia night?
Oh my gosh. I feel like there was a question and now I'm blanking on it, but I was like, oh, I just did trivia night on my Star Wars podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll come to you.
Yeah. So I was all about trivia last week. But yeah, it was great. This was our second year doing it. So we're hoping to keep this as like a regular annual event for us. The only downside is, I guess, being that it was in a brewery, it was hot and humid with all of the big vats, brewing all this stuff. So, and I'm surprised like some of our troopers lasted as long as they did. Because at least like I was in my Leia, so my face is exposed. But Brian wore his Plo Koon. Bless his heart.
Oh.
Yeah, because that thing doesn't breathe. I mean, he's got a good fan rig setup, but it just gets to a certain point where it's so hot. You're just drenched. Yeah. But yeah, everybody had a good time, so it was a good event. And then I have a little bit of show and tell.
Oh baby,
everybody watching the live stream. So I saw this.
What do we got?
I saw this on, I don't know if you've ever heard of that store called Box Lunch.
No, I haven't.
It's kind of like
it's a bunch of nerd crap or something.
It's almost like, do you remember Think Geek?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but a little less like they have more subtle kind of like they have home decor.
Okay, a little like biz cash.
Kind of, yeah. Like they have some interesting clothing items but just a little like home decor and whatnot. But I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get this. Now keep in mind, I'm not like a girly girl. I don't collect shoes. I don't collect purses and bags, but I could not say no to this bag.
Oh, wow.
How freaking cool is this bag?
That is wild.
You've got the one ring hanging up here, and you've got your little, Eye of Sauron, but this is the best part. And you open it.
Oh, it's Mount Doom.
Isn't that awesome? And then like the inner lining is I don't know if you could see. It's Sauron.
Whoa. That's incredible.
Yeah. So I saw that and I was like, I have to. Again, like I'm not one for like flashy bags and purses. Like I usually carry a little backpack around with me, but it's like this is I gotta get. I can't say no. So yeah, I got that this week. I was super excited about it. And I think that's it. Not much else going on. I guess coming up for the weekend, I'm going to see Tori Amos night. I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
So she doesn't tour very often, so when she comes around, I like to grab tickets and go see her. So excited for that, and then just
That'll be a great time.
relaxing and enjoying my very long weekend. I'm off from work from now until Wednesday. So
we were talking about this before the show.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Get a little mini vacay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me.
Sweet.
What about you?
Well, first, Todd wrote in. The reason that he's off this night is he was on vacation in Door County, Wisconsin. I think he just got home today, was just wiped out from the trip, so he's got the night off. Hi, Todd, if you're watching. He's seeing Indiana Jones or going to Indianapolis this weekend.
Oh.
I'm not sure. He just wrote Indy. So I'm assuming the movie, but it says, miss you guys. Oh, we miss you, Todd.
Oh.
All right. As for myself, lots of D&D stuff. So last week I had talked about how there's a bunch of DM nonsense that I was up to kind of behind the scenes that I wasn't sure if I'd be able to pull off. I kept details purposefully vague because I'm pretty sure some of my players were watching, but now that it's out of the bag, I get to talk about it. So
yay.
The setup was one of the players got killed by a gigantic corrupted jellyfish, and very unexpected. And we talked about it afterwards, and we were pretty split on whether the character herself should be resurrected or not. If you don't know, in D&D there are several different ways that you can bring someone back from the dead, and depending on what table you're playing at, some people like death to be permanent so that there's actually a weight and a cost to it. Beyond a certain level of D&D, death becomes an inconvenience rather than something with dramatic weight to it. And so there are some people who were on that end, and the other end was no, resurrection should be possible. It doesn't have to be an easy thing to do, but it should at least be something we could work towards. So because they were split, I had to think about it because for various reasons we want to wrap up this campaign by the end of August. And so I thought if we introduce a whole separate plot line at this point to try to get this character back, then that's another 3-4 weeks maybe where we're going off into this different direction instead of towards the end of the campaign. So I thought we should probably head towards the end of the campaign. And the player for this character, Kalisha, the character, she brought up the idea, hey, what if I came back as a ghost? And I thought, that's actually pretty interesting, because you can bring them back, and in a way they're still there and kind of affecting things, but they're still something lost just due to the nature that they died. So I actually thought through, and I came up with a stat block for her, a new stat block for her character to run. So new abilities that she has as a ghost. And in some ways it's pretty limited, but in other ways, it still lets her do cool ghost stuff. So she can float around, and she can switch between the material plane and the ethereal plane, where if you're on one plane, you can't be affected by anything on the other plane, and vice versa. So it's a good kind of emergency ripcord to just be I'm out.
Yeah.
But then you can't affect anything on the material plane. And she is visible and can be heard, but she can't interact with anything physically. And she has an ability where she can frighten everybody around her, but that also includes her party members. So she has to be really careful about that. They can like look away to not be affected by it, but um, then if she does a different attack on someone and they are frightened by her like hunting ability, then they immediately like age like 10 to 40 years. So uh you can like you can really mess with someone like that because if they're old, they're just gonna keel over and die.
Just die.
Yeah, and there's rule. I guess it depends because if they're like an elf, then like nothing will change.
Yeah.
But assuming they're a human, then yeah, that can have some really interesting effects. There's ways to undo that, and there are rules for like stat changes based on age, but it's mostly just a fun flavor thing. But also, there's a possession ability where she can force someone to make a charisma saving throw, I believe, and if they fail that, then they just black out, go unconscious, and she takes over their body and can like use what they have on their body, but she like doesn't have access to their memories, doesn't have access to any of their like special class features or anything,
Gotcha.
but basically just can like use them as a puppet. So if she needs to like interact with something, then that's how she would do it. But it's also a clever way to get some more hit points because if you take over someone's body, you also take over their hit points. Then if they die or get knocked unconscious, you're just kind of shunted out of there, but you still have your own hit points. The trade-off for that is you don't have that many hit points, and you're extremely easy to hit. You are resistant to pretty much everything besides like radiant damage and magical weapons. Meaning, like when you're hit, you take like half damage on everything except full. But if you die, basically, then you're just gone for 24 hours until you come back at full hit points. And there's no way to heal your hit points either, except by like dying and coming back. So yeah, a lot of trade-offs, but it seems like an interesting enough character to play. She seemed really excited about it. The tricky DM stuff that I came up with is we wanted to keep it a secret that she would come back as a ghost. And in order to pull that off, I needed to collaborate with that player and have her play along with the fact that she doesn't know if she's coming back or not. I had to, so only me and Charles and her, Charles being the other DM, knew about this. So I had to play it up with the other players that this could go any way. And they had a couple of NPCs in the past that they could go to try to resurrect her. But I also didn't want to steer them that direction because they were like far away. And I didn't want to make this a quest to go resurrect her. But they needed to at least believe they had like options and like a choice to do it. So, because I didn't want to steer them in the way where they thought like she's dead for good. Let's not even try to bring her back. Didn't want to steer them in the way of going on a long epic quest to try to resurrect her, but they needed to have like some more immediate way to try to bring her back. And so I thought of having like an NPC like druid type person there who would like meet them and also have like a built-in reason to want to help them. And so I came up with Calypso, this kind of sea witch kind of character, where she's like super old, like bent over at the back because of age. She has like the seaweed like hair that like goes down half her back and just kind of like gets in her face and everything. And it kind of glows like bioluminescent algae and has like seaweed and shells kind of like braided and beaded in there. And she has like this huge staff, like walking staff that she uses, but it's like half of a jaw of a whale, and the like hinge part of it forms like this crook that she hangs like a lantern from. And so I described it as like this thick fog after the battle because they're at this like beach area, and just this like swinging light just kind of peeking through the fog and getting like closer and closer. I wanted her to feel like really creepy and like ominous, but ultimately turn out to be good. and the players loved her. They thought she was like really weird and interesting at first, but she they got some hints of like what she can do, and I decided that she knew who the bad guy was and that she like recognized his handiwork with this like corrupting black ooze that turned all the sea creatures into like feral monsters. And then she decided to help them and said like, hey, we could try to bring her back, but there might be like terrible consequences because we're playing with fate here and messing with the natural forces of life and death. And the players like bought into it, so I'm like, cool. Then she basically went to the water's edge and like called forth these two octopuses to like bring up like a boat from that had sunk long ago. And she used her magic to make it like waterproof and everything and seaworthy. And then the octopuses just like pulled the boat with them, like along into the bay, and then basically dove down into the cave. But before it dove down, she like brought up these like special starfish and like had everybody like put it on their face, and that way they could like breathe through the starfish. I don't know where I came up with this, but I just did. And that's how they were able to breathe down there, and they got to this like underground cave and grotto. And skipping ahead a bit, they did this whole elaborate like resurrection ritual, and I wanted the players to participate so like they could contribute something. I think they've done this in Critical Role at least once, maybe 2-3 times. This whole resurrection thing,
Yeah.
where each player can like contribute something to the ritual, and it lowers the difficulty of that resurrection ritual from happening. And at the very end, it's basically just like a straight die roll to see if it succeeds or not. And so I really played it up because I wanted the players to believe like there's a chance to make this work, and for them to contribute to it. And they did a great job. I don't think I did a great job of explaining like how it worked. There's a lot of like, what do we do here kind of thing.
Yeah.
But once they got it, I think it went pretty good. And then we had, meanwhile, the player for Kalisha, she was like in the green room on StreamYard. So she was like present and aware of everything that was going on. And she was like getting into character, like putting on makeup, and had like this bridal veil that she put on to like appear like a ghost. And I described her as like suddenly appearing as a ghost after the ritual because it like only partially succeeded.
Yeah.
And then I narrated her in the afterlife. She's talking to like an NPC that they really liked, and she's like, well, I have this unfinished business. And I described her goddess as like basically saying like everybody thinks they have unfinished business when they, come here to basically heaven. But it's not a complete life that counts, but a good life. And I'm kind of making this up on the fly because I'm like, I don't think her god would send her back due to a resurrection ritual. That seems like something on the outside kind of reaching in.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to come up with a reason why her god would want her to stay, and basically be like, kind of pulling on my own personal philosophy of life that there's always going to be stuff that you could have done or that you left undone or that you weren't able to do, but it's what you did with the time that you had and the kind of good life that you try to live that actually counts. And I'm like, yeah, that's what a good aligned goddess would say. And then I described like these kind of like dark tentacles just like appearing out of nowhere and like just like attaching themselves to her spirit and like pulling her back. And it worked really well. The players were really surprised to see her like as a ghost.
Yeah.
There's a very sweet moment when she took possession of one character to like give a hug to another character, like for the last time. A viewer put a comment that it was like Patrick Swayze in Ghost. And that just cracked me up because that's like exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. But my like crazy DM brain going here, I had a surprise that I pulled over everyone because I like that I was collaborating with this player to kind of create this moment. But I thought, is there a way that I can surprise her too?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't tell anyone about this, but I decided like the usual trope of like a ghost possessing someone. What if that was flipped on its head? And what if someone could possess her as a ghost? And so I thought, oh, the villain, Ganjor. What if he could just like pick up the phone whenever he wanted and possess Kalisha, the ghost, and basically just like spy on the players or taunt them, and that way they like never really know that they're safe until they deal with Ganjor. So I had like in the middle of this whole kind of like, hey, I'm back, kinda as a ghost thing. Ganjor just like possessed her and started like taunting the players on their stupid quest. And I think that was I think that worked. I think it was a good surprise to the players.
Yeah.
I really liked that session. It felt like all hamsters were on full tilt. I'm like spinning a bunch of plates at once. But that's just the crazy stuff that you can do with D&D. And it's like there were like 3 or 4 die rolls that session, but it was just all role playing. And I really like those kinds of sessions because I feel like they stretch my creativity the most. And I think it worked out really, really well. So I'm super proud of what I did and how that turned out.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're off this week for the Red 5 Tavern. Next week is the like 1-year anniversary of the stream. So we're doing some kind of like ceremony for that. It's not going to be gameplay. It's going to be a bunch of interviews, I think. But we're just going to celebrate and have a good time. So probably no. Actually, yes, you will get a new. No, you won't. No new D&D stories for a little bit. But I'm crunching away at preparing for my next Star Wars campaign. We're having session 0 next Saturday, and then probably the first game like a month after that. Probably no new D&D stories for a bit, but yeah, super proud of how that went. Really proud of myself for having grown as a DM to be able to pull something like that off, and happy to share it with you guys.
Excellent. Yeah, I give props to anybody who DMs because I'm just like, nah, that's not my jam. That's not my thing. I like to play.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. All right, that's enough. That's enough D&D talk. Thanks everybody for listening to another episode of WSTR. You can find us on the socials: Carla at Carla Marie Giac, Todd at Tizod, myself at Aaron Julian, and we're part of the Red 5 Network, a wonderful network of Star Wars podcasts. Check us out at WSTR Media. We want to hear from you, so please comment, tweet, rate us on Apple Podcasts. You can catch our entire back catalog of episodes at podcast.wstrmedia.com. We got merch over at store.wstrmedia.com. And we are on Patreon, patreon.com/WSTRmedia. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us in the YouTube chat. If you don't want to miss our live streams, you can head over to livestream.wstrmedia.com. That will plop you right onto our YouTube page. Go ahead and subscribe to that. Hit the bell if you like notifications. Otherwise, just make room on your calendar for Thursday evenings to catch us then. Next week, we are doing another Star Wars creature feature, this time on Attack of the Clones, so you won't want to miss that. All right, there's only one way to end this show. Now this is podcasting.
We did it.
For LOM.
For LOM.